Good morning, friends. Welcome to our YouTube channel, Sir Abdul Sattar Khan. 12th English State Board Brainstorming Activities 2.8 Small Towns and Rivers. Question answer. Let's begin 2.8 Small Towns and Rivers 12th English State Board. Question answer. Discuss the importance of nature in the lives of the people from the northeastern part of India as expressed in the poem with reference to flowers, river, bamboo, east. First hai flowers. Tuberoses are woven into wreaths to be placed on the body of a departed as a mark of love and respect. River. The people believe the river has a soul. They respect the rivers and even revere it as a divine, as its waters are immortal. Bamboo. The poet says in the cool bamboo, the color is a cool green. The place where the bamboo grows is also cool. Is the direction of sunrise is very important for the people of Arunachal Pradesh. They ensure the dead are placed pointing west so that their soul directly enters the golden house of the sun. They believe that finally souls must attain the sun's abode in the east. The poet has described her small town in Arunachal Pradesh. Pick out the lines that describe the poet's town. Make a list of natural elements mentioned in the poem. The river has a soul. Elaborate the concept in your words as the poet has explained it in the poem. The poet is convinced with the thought of immortality of water. Pick out the relevant lines. The town has a shrine of happy pictures to mark the days of childhood. Small towns grow with anxiety for the future. Like her town, small towns are by the river. Natural elements river, earth, mountain tops, sun, sunlight, bamboo. The river has a soul. The poet states that the river has a soul. The soul is deathless. The water that flows in the river came from the drops of rain. The water evaporated, rose as mist to the mountain tops. Then it formed clouds and poured down as rain to the dry earth and flowed again. Thus the river goes on, immortal, deathless. The poet is convinced with the thought of immortality of water. The river has a soul. From the first drop of rain to dry earth, mist on the mountain tops, the immortality of water. The poet has used some unconventional expressions, illustrate them in your words. Torrent of grief, shrine of happy pictures, the land of fish and stars. The poet is anxious about the existence of natural beauty of her town in the future, but she touches the strings of the hearts while appealing to conserve the nature, explain the way she has expressed it in the first and the last line of the poem. Torrent of grief. The poet describes the river flowing in summer with great speed, just like someone becomes emotional in green sadness. In great sadness, the force of the water seems to be like the outpouring of sorrow of the river. Shrine of happy pictures. There is a shrine probably in the town which has pictures inside. The pictures may be those of the happy moments experienced by the people in the town. Those memories are so sacred that it is a shrine to them. They protect and guard it because they have only sad and grim things happening at present. The land of fish and stars. The poet says she thinks the river is holding its breath. One has to hold one's breath when she is unable to breathe or does not want to breathe. The river may be choking with garbage and is not able to breathe. The river may be stinking and may not be able to breathe. As the river is so filthy, there are no fish, it is dirty. The water is not sparkling in the day and cannot reflect the stars at night. So the river is in search of a land where there it can flow clean. It will have fish and where it's clear, Water will sparkle in the sun and glitter with stars at night. The poet has connected the need to preserve nature with the belief of particular community and her childhood memories. Write on the measures you would take to convince the people regarding the need to conserve the nature. Write on the expressions related to the season from the poem. We have to make people at large realize that we are a part of the nature, not apart from the nature. Saving nature is to save ourselves. To bring about this realization, I can address my steps to two sections. The first would be the children. Saving water would be the first thing to teach children. Storytelling poems, songs, games, cartoons, and can easily bring the conservation ideas to young minds. I would take my ideas to schools, parks, malls, and try to spread this to the young ones. The other section is, of course, the adult public across economic and social levels. The well of people must not be careless. If they can afford to pay bills, they can waste resources. I will do everything possible. I will use social media to spread various messages, mottos, the seasons, summer or winter. In the summer, match column A with column B. Cool, happy, dreadful, dry. Cool, bamboo, happy, pictures, dreadful, silence, dry, earth. Read the expression a sad wrath of tuberoses. Is the wrath sad? Explain the figure of speech. List and explain the metaphorical expression from the poem. For example, torrent of grief. The river has a soul, life, and death. These are two expressions that are repeated in the poem, but both of them indicate different figures of speech. Find out and discuss. Find out the beauty of the free verse reflected in this poem. A sad wreath of tuberoses. The figure of speech is transferred epithet. The sad mourners have replaced the wreath of tuberoses on the dead. The emotion of sadness has been transferred to the flowers for effect. Torrent of grief. The river sweeps along with great speed as if it is pouring out sorrow. Wind howling down the gorge. The wind blowing through the narrow gorges creates a sound exactly like howling. The river has a soul. The river is spoken of as a living being, a human. It holds its breath. The river may be choking with debris and filth. The river has a soul, life, and death. Life and death in the first usage it is used as antithesis is emphasis the beginning and end. In the second instance it is irony to indicate that neither life nor death is permanent. Ironically, the rituals are permanent. The river has a soul. In the first instance, it is used to personify the river. Several human like qualities are attributed to the river. It cuts through the land. It is cascading in grief. It holds its breath. It seeks a land. Find out the beauty of the free verse reflected in this poem. The small towns and rivers is written in free verse since there are irregular lengths of lines and no rhymes. The reading of the poem is almost like a storytelling. Each stanza has a different number of lines and there is no order for mixing up the short and long lines. The poem is not confined by an obvious rhythm, so we feel there is a kind of freedom. We are free to imagine the widespread setting of the northeastern terrain of mountains and rivers, mists, golden sunlight, and the town by the river. Prepare the arguments for group discussion on the topic. A balanced progress never harms the nature. Compose 4 to 6 lines on gift of the seasons. Write an appreciation of the poem Small Towns and Rivers. Refer to the earlier poems. Write a dialogue between two friends on importance of the rivers. Argument points for growth should be planned to take place in stages. Planning vital for the growth. Sustainability must be ensured. Pros and cons of the damage to environment must be weighed. Short-term gains in progress must not harm long-term eco factors. Against growth must not be halted for issues of environment. Costs will go up due to delays. Delays in progress will slow down economy and employment. Slowdown in economy will cause public to protest. Sacrifice have to be made. One can't have the cake and eat it too. Gift of the seasons. Each season brings a sweetly wrapped gift. We can gift her back no water pollution in the season of the sun, no air pollution when the rains come down, and no degradation the rest of the year. Appreciation of the poem. The poem Small Towns and Rivers, written by Mamang Dai, is a beautiful word picture. It is also a lament of the poet about her beautiful native land of Arunachal Pradesh. This theme shows in the way she begins the poem that small towns remind her of death. It is shocking. She implies the town is unchanging in all weathers, but development comes along and changes everything. There is irony in that cycle of life and death, shows that life is not permanent, but the rituals are permanent. She uses metaphor that the rivers are not only alive like us humans, but actually immortal. She personifies the river by way the river holds its breath because it is choking. It is flowing in search of a place where it will flow clean and clear. The poet uses metaphor of the water cycle to illustrate the river has a soul and its waters are immortal. The poet builds a climax with shrine of happy childhood memories. This becomes growing up, grow with anxiety. Then she speaks of how the dead and placed pointing west so the soul can ascend directly into the sun's golden home in the east. This tells us about the traditions of her region. The poem is in free verse and seems to be in easy language, but we can understand the full depth of meaning only after reading it more than once. The poem is a lament about the destruction of nature for development. We all will feel the sorrow of the poet when we read about how nature's beauty is damaged for man's greed called progress. Dialogue between two friends. Priya, Jay, it goes without saying that fresh, clean water is essential for humans and nature to survive. Rivers are precious sources of fresh drinking water for people across the world, and when rivers are so badly polluted by industry or by poor water management practices, it can be a case of life or death. This unfortunately happens across the world. Jay, yes, Priya, freshwater habitats account for some of the richest biodiversity in the world, and rivers are a vital, vibrant ecosystem for many species. Only those who live by the river know about this wealth of nature. Those who live far away and damaging the system with the poisons are not aware. Priya, people depend on rivers for their way of life and their livelihoods from fishing to agriculture. The way our waterways are managed has a direct impact on people's lives. There are millions of people who follow their ancestors' way of living and earning a livelihood, but modern technology has wrecked the very source of these. Rivers are absolutely vital for fresh drinking water, for people's livelihoods, and for nature. Unfortunately, they are still threatened. We must commit to recovering freshwater biodiversity, restoring natural river flows, and cleaning up polluted water for people and nature to thrive. Priya, yes, Jay, I agree. It is the crying need of the day. उम्मीद है आपको हमारा वीडियो पसंद आया होगा। अगले वीडियो में दोबारा मुलाकात होगी। खुदा हाफिज़। थैंक यू।